Alf, welcome back. Yet again, we have to clear something up. Going back, 5-6 days ago, I did a video about breaking and the gambling products and the reaction from Rob Veras, I can't talk today. Rob Veras over at Burbank Cards talking about just the gambling products in the hobby. Almost 10,000 views on that puppy in the first 4 or 5 days. Struck a chord, and I'm glad it did because, of course, it opens up the conversation, and that's the stuff, man. We even had reaction videos. Dan had a reaction video. Neo's doing a reaction-style video. Everyone's talking more about it. That's what makes the thing go around, the content loop. Keep it coming. Once and for all today, we are going to dispel a myth in this hobby that gamblers outnumber collectors, sports card collectors. We are going to dispel this myth. I will show you with images and my words. Before I dive in, big thanks to today's video sponsor, Pristine Auction. If you have never bought on Pristine before, use the SCD code for your first auction victory. All the sports memorabilia, the non-sports, the pop culture stuff. I've got all sorts of rad things that came from Pristine Auction. SCD 25 bucks off. If you want to consign with Pristine, you get a great deal as well if you mention the sports card dad. If you have never submitted with PSA or you got friends that have never submitted, save yourself, save them some money. Use the SCD 25 code at the shipping and billing screen and take $25 off that order. It's just a 1 card minimum to try out PSA, 25 bucks off with the SCD 25 code. And of course, I have to mention the fact that I'm one of the only ones left with the SlabMags promo code on the internet. It is Sports Card Dad. We get orders on the affiliate code every single day through SlabMags. 10% off your entire order. Sports Card Dad at checkout. Take 10% off. Like I said, I'm one of the only ones left that still has a code to offer. All right, so as mentioned in my last video on this topic, or kind of in a roundabout way, talking about the gambling products, so much of the social media, so much of it is pushed out around all of the new products and all the breaks and the razzes and the repacks. I mean, it's a vast majority of it, which makes you think that that must be all that this hobby is, are those gambling products to dive into. But the real reality and the truth is, I mentioned this, God, how many times, a million times, is that, are there some hobby people that watch YouTube and get on Instagram and do that? Sure, yeah, there are some, but they are a small percentage of the overall ecosystem. And I think that's where things get lost. That's where it all gets lost in translation. We're all kind of in our own little bubble. We see what we want to see. And if you just go by a lot of what you see on social media that might get traction with an algorithm, you might think, well, this is the way that it is. It's all breaking. It's all repacks. It's all of the gambling products. That's what most of the people are doing, right? Wrong. Most of the people are just collecting cards. I know this is going to absolutely shock you. Most of the people don't watch any social media. They're just collecting their favorite player, or there's a new product that comes out. They buy a blaster box from Walmart. They don't know that this channel exists or any other channel exists. They don't even have an IG account. They are just out there doing their thing and just enjoying the card space. Well, how do you have proof of that, Dustin? Well, I can give you one obvious example of this. How many YouTube channels for cards are built around someone that's just talking about their breaks, their repacks, and all the stuff they're buying into or what they're offering in that space, versus how many channels are just from people that own cards, collect cards, and are just sharing their cards online? How many of those collector channels exist? Now, do those collector channels necessarily get into the algorithm and they're front and center when anyone searches for sports cards? No, they're not, for a variety of reasons, but that's a whole separate video. But we're just going by the number of channels. How many people are just on to show their card collection, stuff that they bought? Tons and tons of tons. There's probably thousands of channels like that, actually. And it's not even just vintage cards, because a lot of people will think, oh, you know, those are just vintage channels. Those are vintage collectors that are just showing their vintage cards. That's not true. There's also a lot of modern, ultra-modern collectors that have channels as well. And there's non-sports channels. They are out there. They just don't necessarily pop up when you search for sports cards, and they might not make a video every day, every week, or every month. They might make a video every couple of months, just showing what they've picked up, talking about hobby stuff. There is way more channels out there that are talking about their particular collection. IG accounts. How many IG accounts are there that are, breaker accounts or just people that are buying the breaks? Here's what I bought into a break. Here's a repack that I bought, and here's what I'm doing with it. Versus how many are just people that buy cards that buy singles? It's way, way, way more people that buy singles that have an IG account just kind of showing the cards that they've got. But what about people that are just investing in the GOATs? They're investing, let's say, in quotation marks. Isn't everyone just buying Michael Jordan and Mickey Mantle and Kobe Bryant and whoever else, in that bucket of folks? Wayne Gretzky? Well, if that's the case, then how come when I search eBay, let's just throw out a name of a great player, George Brett. George Brett, here over the last couple of months on eBay, somebody literally paid $1,200 for a 81 Topps, I think that's a 6th year George Brett card. Someone paid $1,200 for a PSA 10. Maybe it's a set registry person. Maybe it's like the best George Brett collector and they're looking for PSA 10s of all these cards. Probably, could be. But the fact is what kind of liquidity has to be in place in a market where someone spends $1,200 on a 6th year George Brett card? I understand it's a PSA 10, but that's still a hell of a lot of money. And if you look on eBay, his rookie cards, his 2nd year cards, his 3rd year cards, they sell every single day just about on eBay. Another example, Chris Mullin. All-time great basketball player. Chris Mullin. Is he top of mind when you think of all-time greats? No. But he has cards that sell every single day. And it's not even just 86 Fleer. He's got auto cards and he's got autographics, Skybox autographics. There's all sorts of different cards for Chris Mullin that sell every single day. Howie Long. Great player for the Raiders. Great linebacker for the Raiders. He's a good broadcaster, good commentator. Yeah, I like, he's a good analyst. Like overall, I like Howie Long. Is he top of mind of like hobby relevant guys? No, but he has cards that sell for $150 to $500, and he's got his rookie card, the 84 Topps, great card, and a PSA 9 you can get it for $60 or $70. Really cool card. But they sell every single day. Howie Long cards. These are just 3 examples of a zillion players, and I'm not even talking about people that are playing right now. Factor them in, and it's another zillion options out there of people that are buying those cards. Are repackers buying these George Brett cards? Are they buying the Chris Mullin cards? Are they buying the Howie Long cards? That's getting eaten up by repackers? I don't think so. I don't think it is. As much as big as bad as they are and how much they suck up as far as inventory and as part of the ecosystem as they are, I know for the downtowns and the kabooms, they're very important. They're very, very important for those particular cards. But think about all the different types of cards, the years and years and years of cards. Repackers, in the grand scheme of things, are still a small percentage of really all of the turnover, all of the buying and selling and stuff, all the churn. It might sound like big dollars. Yes, there are big outfits out there doing it. Absolutely. Not trying to say that it's small potatoes, because it's not. But it still doesn't compare to the average Joe collector that's out at a card show buying his player or just buying online. That's kind of the beauty of buying online. At a card show, you're going through, and you might not, if you're collecting Howie Long, you might not see one Howie Long card there all day. But you jump on eBay and you can find a million of them in a second. That's why eBay still is the largest platform for buying and selling cards. $300 million in sales in the month of March. That is comparable, guys, to first quarter 2021, where all the slush money was slushing around in this hobby and price points were at all-time crazy, stupid highs. So just kind of think about that. Let that marinate. That in 2025, with all the economic uncertainty and blah, 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 this and that and whatever, we are in the same ballpark as far as money spent as Q1 2021. When about $3 or $4 trillion in the United States went out into the market. Just kind of like wrap your head around that. People are just buying cool cards of players that they like. A perfect example of this is just this week, a couple of days ago, I do my weekly show where I'm partnered with PSA and we're highlighting different cards in the PSA eBay vault on the eBay store there that are for sale. And I brought up a card. I just thought it looked awesome. It's about a $50 card. PSA 8, I believe, 90s insert for Barry Sanders, and he's kind of in like a running pose. It was just a badass card. And I shared that one on the show, and I got a comment on the video, hey, that is an awesome card. I picked it up. I saw it on your show, and I went ahead and picked up that card because, damn, I know about that one, just thought it was awesome. That happens every single day. And that's a perfect example about a $50 card. We're not necessarily talking about Paul Skeen's debut patch 1-of-1s all the time. It doesn't have to be Mickey Mantle or Michael Jordan. There's people collecting stuff all the time that aren't those players. I collect Alvin Kamara. I'm a huge Saints fan. Let's look at these 2 cards. This is from 2017 Prism. They're golds. Of course, one is the autograph version out of 10. This one's just the regular gold out of 10. What do we know about 2017 Prism when you think of that set? Patrick Mahomes, rookie year. Just so happened to be Alvin Kamara's rookie year as well. Patrick Mahomes card, this card, I looked at card ladder data on this card. The last sale for a 10 and a BGS 9.5 was about 2 years ago for a little over $100,000. Now, if that Mahomes gold went up, the BGS 9.5, if it went up today, I don't know what it would sell for, but let's go off of that price, the 2023 price. This was $600 I got this for about $600. So for less than 1% of Patrick Mahomes' cost, the price point for Patrick Mahomes, I got a top 10 running back over the last decade for my favorite team. And I think that really sums it up right there. When people are looking at, okay, who are the all-timers? Who are the great players and their price points? And absolutely, maybe you've got kind of a portion of your collection. I've got a portion of my collection that's Michael Jordan, 80s Michael Jordan stuff. And it's great stuff. I love it. But I also understand that you're paying GOAT premiums for Michael Jordan stuff. So if you want Chris Mullin, you can get some amazing Chris Mullin cards at a fraction of the cost. If you want Alvin Kamara, you can buy Alvin Kamara at a fraction of the cost of some of the other guys. So the Paul Skeens 1/1 debut patch, it'll get all the attention. The next new huge card that comes out, it'll get all the attention. But in a few months, when I am walking around the National, yes, there will be a room, a pretty sizable room, and it'll be really loud. And that'll be the gambling part of the National. That'll be the casino. That'll be the yelling and the screaming and the basket. Shoot a basket and win a prize. It's going to be all of that. And I'll walk through it. See the whatnot board with all the different things going on, all the craziness. I'll do the ring toss in there. I'll probably buy some cotton candy or whatever. What else do you get at the fair? I'll get like a funnel cake, when I'm over there in the gambling part of the National. But guess what? 3/4 of the rest of the entire fucking show will be collectors and dealers just buying cards, just buying singles of the players that they like. So the whole idea that, the hobby's just gamblers now. I will argue against, I'll push back on, I don't want that part to get bigger. I think it's big enough. I think it's already too big, and I will certainly push back on it. But the idea that it's all that, it's not. It's not just all that. It's not. And there's more and more people that are getting in. There's more and more people that maybe they come in on that side, and then they're like, holy shit. Like, I'm going to go over here on the other side of the show floor and just buy the damn cards that I like. Because yes, there might be some hits out of this product, but there's 100+ years of cards. I mean, it's an endless sea of stuff. Don't take my word for it. Ask John Mangini. There's a couple guys that are a perfect example of this. So my buddy Ryan, History Through Cards, that's his YouTube channel. Great channel. He writes great articles too. And then there's also Mangini, John Mangini Collection. And I've talked with him just going back a few weeks, and he said, and this is a vintage card collector. He also collects modern, but he's been collecting cards for decades, and he still finds new sets on the vintage side that he's never heard of, never seen before. And he's been going to shows and been collecting cards for decades. Same with Ryan. So the whole idea that, my God, if I don't get into this new product and get this hit, well, my whole life is over. There's a whole endless sea of stuff out there for collectors to go and find. And that part of the hobby is growing. It doesn't get attention. It does not get any social media attention, but that is a growing segment. And that's exactly what I was talking about with Rob Veras over at Burbank, setting up his singles shop the way that he's going to have it. He's always had a single shop, but just expanding it out, more players, larger, and down to 25 cents per card. It just broadens that all out to where it can be very obscure players. Look, there's a lot of collectors out there that collect like very obscure players. They collect non-sports, they collect characters, and that's their deal. They just focus on those particular things, and that's all that they collect. That is not going to get social media attention. If you post that obscure player on Instagram, it's not going to get any attention most likely. If you make a YouTube video about it, it probably won't get a whole lot of attention. It's not as exciting as maybe what some of the industry stuff is pushing or what they're, bringing out to try to sell a new product. And it's not to take away from those cards. I mean, look, the MLB debut patch card, that is a new invention by Fanatics Topps. It's a great new invention by Fanatics Topps. So yes, it is a chase card as part of the overall kind of big find your lotto ticket chase, but it's a damn cool card. They did a good job with it. So it's not to take away from those cards. It's just to say there's so many other options, and there's a lot of people that are just collecting stuff and not necessarily just chasing lotto tickets. And I think it's going to stay that way. I don't think that people are stupid. And I think that once they get entrenched in buying singles and really getting into the players, the sets that they like, they find camaraderie with other collectors. They find camaraderie at shows, at sports card stores. I think it's really happening more and more. And so let me know your thoughts. Which players in particular, or frankly, just sets? Are there certain insert sets that you like? There's a lot of 90s collectors, but there's also a lot of modern stuff, ultra modern. Which players' sets do you collect? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, my friends. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.